Everyone, welcome back to the No Cap Zone podcast powered by educational entities. My name is Jovan Manning, the leader of Students for Equity. I will be your host today, and I am a senior in high school, and I'll be excited to dive into these important topics with you all today. Now, before we get into this episode, if you are tuning in on Facebook or any other social media platforms, we will greatly appreciate if you spread the word. Share this episode within five or in your community groups and tag five people who you find very valuable within this discussion. Now, let's take a moment to introduce our new member, Tierra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiara Hanley. I am a junior in high school, and I'll be bringing you the NCZ news. So, this month, our highlights are National Suicide Prevention Month and National Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Every September, we mark National Suicide Prevention Month, which is devoted to bringing attention to suicide and advocating preventative measures. The goals of this month long campaign are to raise public awareness of the difficulties associated with mental health and the warnings of suicide and the values of prompt treatment. The purpose of the observation is to create a supportive environment for people to feel encouraged to seek help by prompting open talks and lowering stigma. It also underlies the vital resources available to those dealing with mental health problems and the life saving power of community assistance. National Suicide Prevention Month aims to significantly influence mental health awareness and suicide prevention through a variety of events, campaigns, and educational initiatives. National Sickle Cell Awareness Month, observed every September, focuses on raising awareness about sickle cell, a hereditary blood disorder that alters the shape of red blood cells, leading to complications in pain, affection, infections, and organ damage. The month is dedicated to educating communities about the disease, advocating for better treatment, and improving healthcare access for those affected by SCD by prompting early diagnosis and greater quality of life for patients and support ongoing research of efforts. The awareness efforts also encourage policies of changes and increase support for individuals and families impacted by SCD. Follow us on Twitter and YouTube under Educational Entities. That's the NCZ News. Let's go to NCZ Game, Movies, and more.
All right, thank you, Tierra. So, today I'll be introducing you three things within the movie, game, and tech industry. So, of course, everybody knows that Apple has released the brand new iPhone 16. This feature includes significant upgrades such as improved A18 bio chips, enhanced camera capabilities with AI-driven photography, with a new design with a periscope style lens. This release also has generated buzz due to its performance enhanced and new features that caters to casual users, photography users, and tech enthusiasts. And for the gaming part, we have the launch of Elden Ring Shadows of Eldritch. Elden Ring, or this is from FromSoft. They are releasing a new edition or DLC called Elden Ring Shadow of Eldritch. This expands the crucial acclaimed game already known as Elden Ring. This introduces new areas, characters, and lore, expanding the game's already rich world. Gamers and critics are alike to discuss the new content and particular emphasis on the additional challenges that they enhance for the overall game experience. And finally, for the movies, we had this month we've recently had a premiere for Dune Part 2. This was directed by Dennis Fitzwayland. It also continues the adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel and has generated significant buzz for its visual effects and narrative depth. The film premieres has sparked conversations about its impact and the science fiction genre and its reception by both critics and audience. And that's it for this NTC News segment. So, the No Cap Zone is back for season 4 with a brand new season with the summer behind us and school is back in session. It is time for us to amplify the voices of young people and students on pressing equity and social issues within our schools and community. This podcast is our candidate space to express genuine thoughts and feelings about the societal events that are shaping our lives. So, in episode 1 of season 4, we'll kick it off by delving into the topic about school safety and its place in violence incidents, specifically focused on school safety in the aftermath of its violence. With us speaking out on the tragedy that took place in the Royal County of Barrow, exploring the emotional and physical tolls that has conducted on the students. This sheds so much tragedy as we aim to put light on the challenges schools face in preventing violence and how students, educators, and communities can come together and create a safer learning environment for students. So, today's topic is about what happened on September 4th. But before we actually get into this, I would like to provide a little background. And Thierry, if you want, you can add on to this. So recently, on the 4th of September of this year, 2024, we had a school shooting count or occurred within Appalachia High School in Barrows County. This was ultimately conducted by a 14-year-old freshman named Colton Gray, who has only been attending Appalachia High School for about 2 days. One thing that I have or we have found out was that he left his Algebra 1 class, which is his first period, around 9:40 to 9:45 a.m. and returned near the end of his period when when one of his fellow peers noticed that he had an AR rifle or rifle-looking weapon right next to him and told everybody else not to let him in. And as he was denied access, he continued over to neighboring classrooms. He had about 9 injured. This includes 1 teacher and 8 students, and he tragically claimed 4 lives, which were Mason Shermerhorn. He was a 14-year-old freshman at Appalachia. Christian Angelo, also another freshman in 14. We also have a math teacher, Christian Ermy. She was 53 at that time. And we had another math teacher, but also a football coach, which is Richard Asprong. He was 39. From what we've seen within his first appearance report, he'll be tried as an adult with 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of second degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. If he is convicted, he will ultimately face up to 15 to life imprisonment. And Tierra, is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, what I've also read that he obtained the rifle that the AR by his father, which was gifted to him, I believe. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It was a Christmas gift that he got.
Yes.
So far from what Tierra telling when with Colt's father, Colin Gray, providing him a AR-15 for his Christmas gift within last year. He is facing up to 2 counts of second-degree murder, 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Um, so he will ultimately face up to 180 years if he is actually convicted. So let's get into the questions after having that background information. How has the recent tragedy at Appalachia High School impacted your sense of safety within your school environment?
Well, I do find myself being more aware about the people I'm around and like how they're what they're doing, how they're moving, what they're involving themselves with, how their mental space is. And there's always like a thought in the back of my head if if the if someone I know or my school will be the next school.
Yeah, that's pretty much how everybody feels because this really has affected our our sense of safety within educational institutions, whether that be a K through 12 school or if you're in a college space, even though colleges are a lot more secure.
Hmm.
Um, we used to think, I know personally for me, I used to think that schools were like generally safe from a lot of violence within the recent years that we've been in school. But this incident kind of reminds me that violence is able to happen anywhere, even places that you would least expect it to. So, do you have anything else to add to that, Tier, or?
To run off of what you said, yes, when I've had conversation about this with my fellow peers that also see school as somewhere when they want to get away, they can go to school because you get to see your friends on a daily basis. You get to see your teachers. You get to interact with people that have different backgrounds from you, and to see that now you can't even consider school to be a safe place is sad.
All right. So our second question is, what immediate changes or measures did you notice that were implemented within schools or your own school in response to the tragedy?
So for me on my campus, I've started to notice more security officers around campus. Like each building, because it's multiple buildings, each building you go into, there's always some officers inside, some officers outside, some officers on the yard, just patrolling the area, being more aware.
Yeah, because with the increased security, I know they have really felt like their security was lacking. But one
Hmm.
thing that we do have to keep in notice is that Appalachia High School is in like a rural area, so we won't have as much of like industrialization like we have within like urban cities or urban towns or whatnot. Because one thing that I did find within this whole incident that within most rural counties they barely even have any like type of security measures like we have like metal detectors or ID checks or anything of that nature.
Mm,
Um, Also, I believe that they're getting ready to like kind of have more access for mental health support because it is quite serious that people have went through this, and I know that people are traumatized ultimately, whether if it happens in your own school or neighboring schools around you.
yes.
All right, so let's go to question three. What roles do you think equity plays in setting up students for success within school?
I think it plays a pretty big role by ensuring students have resources and support they need to thrive. If that means recognizing and addressing the diverse backgrounds and needs and challenges that each student face.
You practically summed up most of what I was going to say. But yeah, to run off basically what you said, equity is an important thing, whether it doesn't matter if their backgrounds are trashy or if they're good or if they have any learning disabilities or enhanced learning abilities. It should be able to be equal for everybody to have access to resources so they're able to in further improve
Hmm.
on themselves, whether if they're still in school, if they want to go to a post secondary option like college or anything overall that's going to require you to use things that you've learned from your past years in school or years to come.
Yes. Also, I've discussed this with my peers in class. When we're talking about backgrounds and how people are raised, I think when it has to do with this situation, it's really based on how he was raised. Because many things have come out about issues with his parents, going from home to home and stuff like that. And to compare that with mental health, you can see how that took a toll on him.
Yeah. All
Hmm.
right. So, fourth question: how has the tragedy affected your interactions within your peers, your teachers, and in the schools around in your neighborhood or outside?
So I do see a positive and a negative that came from this. One of them are open dialogue with mostly my teacher. They're giving us more opportunities to express our feelings and concerns, which usually leads into deeper conversation about do we feel safe and how our well-being is doing. And our negative is increased anxiety. Some students started to like feel anxiety and fear of going to school and fully engaging like activities outside of school and interacting socially.
Yeah, because this also occurs like within like neighboring schools within like the metro Atlanta area that we've
Hmm.
noticed with people within our own schools or outside of our own schools bringing more violence
Right.
to events like school events, like whether if it's like something like a field day or if it's a regular old field trip or if it's them doing like a sporting event like football, basketball, track, whatever. And that's something you also have to take in notice within like that negative aspect because everybody is not straight within their head. And I don't have any other way to put it. That's just the best way. So you always have to be like real intentional with how you move and
Right.
see how people's true intentions can come out within a later date.
Right.
All right, so we are on our last question, and after this, we'll be going to questions within our chat or the comments. So the last question is, what role do you think students should play in shaping school safety policies and practices?
I think one big role, pure, is how we influence each other, because we as students, as teenagers, we run off of each other. We feed on energy. So if we're seeing our peers indulging in safe doings and doing things safely, then we feel the need to ride along with that. But if we're seeing each other being irresponsible, we'll mostly go towards that, and also partaking in policy development.
Yeah, that's something crucial because I know when we were, or since we technically are in school together, but
Yeah.
within like Seven Pillars when we were both in SGA, that was also form of another form that we're able to show people like, hey, you're able to do things like within your school
Hmm.
that can kind of shape how your school is viewed
Yes, making a
as
change.
like student population primarily. Because once they see like, oh, these people from different variety of grades from middle to high school, if they see all of us working together and actually make something positive for the whole school, then that's something you'll see in the rest as long as you continue that momentum.
Yes, giving them a voice to not just talk amongst each other like, oh, I wish this was different. We can actually put that out there. We can actually do something about that.
And plus, you can also like get with your teachers, you're able to get with your school's admin, you're able to get with your school intendant, or you're able to get with the people over your district, whether if it's from the House or the Senate, wherever you live.
Hmm.
All right. So, is there any other? My bad. Is there anything else you would like to or add from like the previous questions, or are you good?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
All right. So now we'll be taking questions from the chat. So I I see Professor JVA saying, "Do you feel that students should have more SROs that will help stop violence in schools?" It depends. For me personally, it depends on how the SROs are because there are some SROs that will just use their power to like be up confident and like push over their authority to make everybody feel or less superior than they're actually supposed to be, even though we're all equal. But at the same time, within this incident, it would be a good thing to have more SROs in rural areas, not within like urban areas, because we already have enough security by then.
I kind of have to disagree with you, because I know in my elementary school I did have an SRO, and we were like the best of friends. And she really, she really like heard us out. She really came to us about if she saw something we were doing wrong. She really came to us asking how are we doing mentally, not just
Yeah, because for me, I've seen like people or different other schools. Because of course, we didn't have SRO. All we have are like deans and stuff.
Hmm.
But I've seen with other schools, like some other SROs, they are friendly, they are helpful. But at the same time, we also have those people that are more tyrants within their job. You got anything else to add, or we can move on to the next question.
We can move on.
All right. So another question is from JBA is what roles do parents play in violent children seen in real life and social media? I'm gonna let you tackle that one first, Sierra.
Well, kind of to add on to what I said before, how you are raised and what restrictions you're giving your child. If you're giving your child free will to do whatsoever they want, they're gonna eventually see things that is not good for them, but I guess you would say is interesting that they would indulge themselves with. So I really think it's how you raise your child with restrictions and what rules you implement on them, and then what
Yeah,
you're allowing them to get.
yeah. Because I've said this within like past episodes last season and also at um, the Capitol with JVA when I was speaking in like the first year I was there. You always have to have parents that are willing to do right by their child, not like give them anything else to get them off your back because that's what we see with most of our generation or most of Gen Z.
Mm,
And of course, we can put in Gen Alpha because they're getting into that also that same habit. Um, because the more you like push away your children, the more that they think, oh, I can get away with anything. Like they'll push away, you don't discipline them or show them that their actions have consequences. They're like, oh, I can keep doing this or whatnot. Like I can keep putting it forward, and I can do this outside of my home.
yes,
Meanwhile, we have other parents that are like, hey, no, this is what's gonna happen. You'll give me this, and I'll do this. You'll get this back in return. And there's so many other ways that you're able to do this.
yes. Also, because I understand some want to have a good relationship with their child, but at the end of the day, that child is your responsibility. What you allow them to get into is your fault. That is your child. That is a minor. You have the
Yeah,
power to tell them what's good and what's bad.
yeah, because I don't know if you know this, but I know within like the Metro Atlanta, like within Clayton per se,
Mm,
that or Clayton and like surrounding schools with like around Clayton, that they've actually like went to schools and taking children out that have posted like, hey, I'm gonna shoot at this school because they're able to track back IPs. People don't realize that IPs and stuff they're able to be tracked back to a specific location. Everything has everything is always traceable. Is where I'm getting at. No matter what you say, no matter what you post, no matter what you do, if you have social media or anything on the internet, it's going to be traced back to you and the place that you live at that current place or moment.
right.
All right, so you go with this question, right?
Okay. Not to place blame, but what is a top cause of violence in schools?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, for us or for me per se, I've seen people that are not emotionally intelligent enough. Like their
Hmm.
parents have not had enough time to invest within that child to like, hey, this is how you can regulate an emotion. This is what you can do. These are steps that you can take, whether if it involves an adult or just you. But also, there's another thing is that children nowadays they're using vapes, weed pens, regular old blunts, and many other drugs, and that can contribute to how their brain operates. Because at a young age, your brain is still developing. It's like until like 24,
25.
25 years old until your brain like fully develops, and you taking all this can
It
it
stunt your
can cause your brain to be like stagnant where it's
growth.
at and not be able to develop even further.
I agree. I agree. It's also when when kids know that they don't have any repercussions when it comes to their home life. There's no like discipline.
Go ahead, Sierra.
Yeah. When there's no discipline, when there's no feeling that you can do anything with no repercussions, your parents are not going to get mad at you. Sometimes some parents are encouraging certain things. Yeah. Well, it seems like he's having an issue with his camera. So I'll also add in having issues with drug use in youth, as he also already said. Um, in my opinion, I think that since we have seen more, it's more kids are more able to get drugs. It's kids are more able to obtain drugs. It's not hard to get it really, and I feel like if as parents you are being more on top of your child, being more responsible, and telling your child, teaching your child what's good and right. Yes, when you grow up, you might do drugs, but for right now, keep it cool with it. Like, if you want to grow up and have a good job, if you want to grow up and be emotionally intelligent, to be able to think for yourselves and not always being a not always being a follower, being a leader. Because that's one thing I've learned when I was younger from my parents. Be a follower, not a leader. Be a trendsetter. Don't always think that you can.
My
Oh,
bad.
he's back.
My bad. My Wi-Fi dropped.
You're
But
good.
continue on what you were saying. You done what you were saying, Tiara?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So we'll call that a successful episode with our new member Tiara. So let's give a round of applause for her. So Students for Equity has established this platform for students to amplify their voices on social justice issues that occur on an everyday basis, both within and without or outside of our schools. If you're interested in backing in our advocacy or joining the team, email us at studentsforequity@gmail or in school students for equity in schools@gmail.com. And remember, it is students for, not FOR, the letter for, equity in schools@gmail.com. This episode has been proudly spot or supported by edu- educational entities, and we will all see you next time.
Bye.